I'm Patricia Vallone with a CTV News update. Governor Wes Moore has announced a new partnership between the Maryland Department of the Environment and the University of Maryland Center for Global Sustainability. It provided the backdrop for a roundtable discussion hosted by Governor Wes Moore. The discussion centered around Maryland's efforts to combat climate control, in particular, the Climate Solutions Now Act, which mandates 60% emission reductions by 2031 and 100% by 2045.
And so that's why I'm proud to announce that our administration will be partnering with the University of Maryland Center for Global Sustainability to model Maryland's path towards our climate goals. This partnership will make sure that we're on track to cut emissions so we can help to keep up the pace, help to make sure we're staying focused, help to make sure we're making adjustments if necessary to make sure that we are hitting our goals. And this administration is serious about this. We are serious about fighting climate change, but we also cannot make this fight alone. It will take partnership, it will take collaboration, and it's going to take teamwork.
Other items discussed were policies leading to the increased use of electric trucks, buildings, and renewable energy. Well, for years, survivors of child sex abuse have fought to lift statutory time limits in Maryland, which would allow them to sue their abusers or organizations that harbored them. One such victim, Delegate C.T. Wilson, has sponsored legislation for years on behalf of survivors, but it always stalled in the Senate. This year, it passed both chambers. Wilson spoke with CTV at the beginning of the session about what he hoped to achieve.
The goal was really to give the victims a chance to have their voice be heard, and the statute of limitations prevent a lot of civil actions. And it's not really about the money, it's about getting some closure for these folks. So what this does, it just gets rid of the statute of limitations for victims of child sex abuse, and it gives a two-year look-back window to allow, if anybody had been precluded by the prior statute of limitations, it allowed them to bring suit. And that's how we're going to discover who's out there through civil discovery, find out what institutions were protecting what predators, and basically let us start with a clean slate at some point. Finally, want to do something I think that we can give the survivors a win, and I think this is the year to do it.
The House and Senate measures are identical. One of them must still pass the second chamber before it can be sent to Governor Moore for his consideration. Well, New York City is gearing up for former President Donald Trump's arraignment tomorrow on criminal charges related to alleged hush money payments to porn star Stormy Daniels. Protests are expected outside the Manhattan District Courthouse and Trump Tower. At a press conference this morning, New York City Mayor Eric Adams had this to say.
While there may be some rabble-rousers thinking about coming to our city tomorrow, our message is clear and simple. Control yourself.
I will remind everyone that violence and destruction are not part of legitimate, lawful expression, and it will never be tolerated in our city.
And although we have no specific threats, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is known to spread misinformation and hate speech, she stated she's coming to town. While you're in town, be on your best behavior.
After his arraignment, Trump is expected to give remarks about his charges. Well, from power outages to downed trees, residents around Prince George's County are still recovering from this weekend's high winds. Take a look at this photo of a downed tree on top of 2117 East Spring Place in Landover. This is that same house today. The tree fell on the structure at around 8:30 Saturday night. No one was home at the time, but the homeowner who has been displaced did speak with CTV News this morning.
Where I normally just would be sitting at that time, the tree would have fallen right in that pathway. So it's a real good thing I wasn't home. Things have to it's got to be covered so people can't get in, and insurance guys has to get out here, and I'm in a hotel for now, and then we'll see what happens.
Elsewhere, a tree fell on a house in Temple Hills. Investigators say 2 adults and 3 children were home at the time, but were not injured. And you are watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone. Historical artifacts located in Maryland are connected to a family dating back to the pre-Civil War era. We'll have details when we return.
My early Alzheimer's diagnosis gave us time to adapt as a family.
Welcome back. Well, many Americans are surprised to learn that there were free blacks before the Civil War. In fact, some were even around in the early years that the United States was formed. Now, land records and archaeological studies have identified one such Maryland family, the Freemans.
Their names are Henny and James Freeman, and they lived here with their 9 children.
There are no photos around to identify James and Henny Freeman, but there are certainly plenty of artifacts in land records. The couple purchased this half-acre lot on Talbot Lane in Easton back in 1787.
This area is known as the Hill Community. It's an early free black settlement in the country. And this particular plot of land is extra significant because it was the home of the earliest documented free black landowning family who lived here from 1787 to 1824.
The Freemans were free blacks, and they lived on Maryland's eastern shore nearly a century before the Civil War.
We want to make sure that we've uncovered all of the interesting material evidence that's buried underground that tells us more about who Henny and James Freeman were and lends a fuller understanding of the African American experience in Easton and in the United States pre-Civil War.
With a tool called a set of jacks, and they flared out the outer lip. So this dates to that same time period, 1810 to 1830.
Historians say for a person of color to be free in those days, it was usually because the former master granted his or her freedom, or because they served in the Revolutionary War against the British. Archaeologists have been working to uncover those hidden secrets on this plot of land, including the types of flowers planted and what they fed their livestock. But it's the artifacts that have history buffs really excited.
1820s or 1830s. The early material coming out of the archaeological site has quite a bit of what we call creamware. Creamware was popular in the 1770s to the 1790s. We have a wash basin fragment here from the 1840s, 1850s, some yellowware, which dates to the early 19th century, very early, finely made, free-blown aqua glass bottles with applied rims, dating to the 1820s, 1830s, about the time that at least James and Henny's children may have been present on the property.
A study will be conducted that builds on 3 previous studies of the Freeman site, led by the University of Maryland. The project is being carried out by the Ottery Group on behalf of the Academy Art Museum in Easton. The archaeological dig was completed last Friday. Well, the list of the next set of astronauts heading to the moon is finally out. NASA and the Canadian Space Agency today announced the 4 crew members who will board Artemis 2. The astronauts include American Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, Mission Specialist 1 Christina Hammack-Cock, and Canadian Mission Specialist 2 Jeremy Hansen. Hammack-Cock will be the first woman to fly to the moon, and Glover will be the first person of color on a mission to the moon.
And it's so much more than the 4 names that have been announced. We need to celebrate this moment in human history. Because Artemis 2 is more than a mission to the moon and back. It's more than a mission that has to happen before we send people to the surface of the moon. It is the next step on the journey that gets humanity to Mars.
The announcement was held at the Ellington Field near NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. Still ahead, a young author is inspiring youth to discover their confidence. We'll have the full story just after the break. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Well, he is the author of the book, It's Okay to Be Me. 10-year-old Manny Jennings, who has a speech impediment, tells us that his book can help children who are different and feel more confident.
Did you ever feel like you weren't confident at any time?
No.
You always felt confident?
Yes.
When did you know that other kids probably weren't confident and that you could help them?
When my parents brought the idea up to me, I started realizing that kids could be inspired and feel confident about the book. I wanted to write the book because I wanted to inspire kids and I want them to feel confident in themselves if they stutter. So I also have a really cool YouTube channel called Manny Time. This is me with a camera recording a YouTube video for my YouTube channel. A kid asked me, "You stutter, why do you talk like that?" It was probably the most hardest thing to say about the book, because he asks me why do I stutter, and the book says, I told him, well, I just talk like that.
He handled it so well. He didn't even let it bother him at all. He just said, hey, that's a part of who I am. And so the fact that he addressed it that way, it showed us, okay, we're on the right track and he's getting what we're instilling in him.
We work hard and we're really intentional about trying to make sure he gets these lessons. And I think the actual impact, or what we're trying to do, is make sure other kids who may not have some of those opportunities, or maybe in homes and families that might be a little dysfunctional or are struggling now, can have access to some of that same inspiration.
When I grow up, I want to be a professional football player, a policeman, or maybe even a spy. The experience of writing the book was actually really fun, also kind of easy to be honest. And my parents were just bringing ideas up to me. They were saying what are your favorite sports? And they were saying you like to wear bright colors, so we can put that in the book. This is me picking out the brightest colors that I have, cool sunglasses, and my dirty room.
And Jennings' book, It's Okay to Be Me, is available for purchase on Amazon. Well, in sports news, last year at this time, Angel Reese was a key member of the Maryland women's basketball team. This year, however, while Maryland fell in the Elite Eight round of the NCAA tournament, Reese was playing in the national championship game. After transferring from Maryland to LSU, Reese led the Tigers to the 2023 NCAA title yesterday. LSU beat Iowa in a high-scoring contest, 102-85. Reese had 15 points and 10 rebounds.
Super happy for the program first, but this is bigger than me. I mean, I had so many goals coming into LSU, but I didn't think I was going to win a national championship within my first year at LSU. I mean, I'm just happy for this team. Coach Mulkey, I appreciate you. Can't thank you enough for giving me this opportunity to play under you and get better, and I'm just happy right now.
It's emotional, and I am so happy. I really don't know how to explain it. Just a deep gratitude and happiness. And yes, it does matter being back home.
And the former Terp, Angel Reese, was named the tournament's most outstanding player. Meantime, in the men's NCAA championship game tonight, San Diego State will take on the University of Connecticut. And that wraps up our newscast for this evening. Join us again tomorrow. Have a great night.